PRCAC is
Okay, if everyone can mute themselves, we are going to call to order the PRCAC regular meeting for January 19th at 7 p.m. First item is approval of the agenda. Is there any? Okay, all in favor? Good. Well, I just got to mute a couple people. Okay. Next is approval of previous meeting minutes, which we are going to defer till next month just because we had some technical difficulty getting the video to download and transfer. So I'm going to do that while I have an actual decent internet connection tonight. And so we will approve December and January, both in February. Next, we only had 2 pieces of correspondence for Bob Hillman, as well as the Maple Beach group. I would like to make a motion just to move those to the discussion since they are actual agenda items. Makes sense. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, that passes. Okay, now we are to the first public comment. I will go to everyone who's here on Zoom. If you have anything that you'd like to bring up before we start the meeting, if you can unmute yourself or raise your hand.
Hi, I'm attending tonight because I'm very anxious to hear about any progress with Whidbey and getting better internet here. It's becoming a real travesty. Thanks.
What was that? That was Lee Morehouse. And Pat, you had your hand?
Yeah. I want to make a comment when it's time about the drainage plan.
Drainage?
Night sky issue. That's about it.
Okay, just if you speak up, Pat, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah, I want to, when you get started, I want to make a comment about the drainage plan and about the night sky issue.
Okay, what would y'all like to talk to us about?
Well, I understand the county said something about the ditches is the responsibility of the homeowner. I believe most road plans that I've seen and stuff like that is the ditch is part of the design, and it should always be in the responsibility of the county. Well, I can understand them charging the homeowner when he, put the culvert in and stuff like that. But as far as the maintenance of the culvert thereafter, should be the county. And the county should also supply a design to the homeowner, including the compaction requirements and the type of culvert being used and size, and exactly all the technical aspects of putting a culvert in. And as far as the night sky issue, I don't think we have a problem at Point Roberts' night sky. You can see a problem across the border, but we have nothing to say about that. But I think they instead of going off on a wild goose chase, they ought to put an ordinance, get an ordinance put together to control that issue down here. But I can see the issues looking north out of our windows, the big glow across the border. Now, if they want to take on something that's a little irritating, it's the fact that they've changed the air traffic And they're sending more of it over Point Roberts. That's more like a noise pollution, but I don't know if we have anything to say about that, but that's a bigger issue, and a few light bulbs around, they can write an ordinance to take care of that. But anyway, that's my say in it.
Thank you, Pat. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we will move to our old business. Brian, update on the drainage master plan.
As of this time, we have heard from the county. They are preparing the RFQ, and that's as far as I think they've gotten at this point.
Okay. With just kind of, I was trying to, with what Pat said, and I think that might be something that we want to discuss with Public Works is, we know that any culvert is the responsibility of the homeowner. The rest of the ditches are the responsibility of the county. But I think what I was hearing from Pat is when someone pulls a revocable encroachment permit to put in a culvert, I think we need to look that up and see, it's been a long time since I pulled one.
Got it.
What it currently shows now, and if we need better clarity on maybe that permit application or something for to ensure that people are putting in the right size, compaction, and all that. So if you want to maybe dig up that application form, I probably have it on my computer, but
not your computer. Okay.
That might be something that maybe that is part of the issue, because it might be still the old basic form. So if we're going to handle something, we can handle it all at the same time.
Good idea.
Okay. So next would be broadband PRCAC.
I've not pinged the county this time, since you already sent them the summary and did not yet get a response. So I'm not going to bother them, but I do understand. Bob, you have an update?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Floor is yours, Bob.
Okay, maybe I'll stand up.
There you go, and then
It's a big deal.
Owl can get you better.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go, right there there you go, perfect.
Okay, so we've been working that project that with the county executive for, I don't know, 2 years now, and that's still going along. On January 2nd, I got a very pleasant call from the Whatcom County PUD saying, oh, looks like there's some grant money available. Would you like to partner with us and apply for the grants? I thought about that for 10 seconds and said, sure, let's do that. So we've done it. The application went in on January 17th. We're supposed to have an answer on February 28th. It's Washington State broadband office money, and the project's $3.5 million. And it, on a broad map, just keep the handout as simple. I'll keep one for myself, but the areas that are highlighted there are the areas that they're talking about. And it's a given that any area that's already received broadband grants won't receive more. So those areas that Whitby is currently building out west of the marina and up the west side, those are all granted areas that are under construction. The dark areas that we see there between Johnson and Benson Road, that received a grant. So all the areas that are highlighted in the lighter green with orange graphics indicating where the homes are is the area that we built out. And it's 1,274 homes. It will be a combination of overhead. That is, we will repurpose the old Delta cable, and we'll start by providing service via cable. And as we rip the cable out, we will replace it with fiber. So the good news is that's fiber to all those homes there. And before anybody asks the question, there are 2 areas that have underground facilities. Wayland Heights and Clear Lane, and they will both get underground facilities.
Great. So, you said it was February
28th, we get an answer from the broadband office.
So after our February meeting, so hopefully you'll have something
Yes.
March, but this is on top of.
This is on top of the other initiative. So
With what? County?
yeah, so we're going to rehab the coaxial network across the point. In those areas that aren't granted, they will get full service per the PRCAC requirements. 150 megabits per second up and down, so full symmetrical service at $50 a month, and with a maximum of $100 one-time installation fee.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sorry, say that again, please. 150
Yeah.
MB per second up and down.
Right,
And how much is the fee?
$50 a month.
50
That's
per month.
before any, if somebody wants to apply for the, assistance grant,
Right.
be taken off that,
With the $100 installation.
and with a one-time $100 installation fee. And that's basically the recommendations that this committee came up with. We wrestled with it a little bit, but we agreed to it.
And
And
this is contingent on the grant actually coming through.
Yeah.
so you'll know about that end of February,
Yeah, February 28th, it actually should be public.
and then
But it's a government project now, so I don't mean to be facetious, but don't hold your breath on February 28th.
right.
So here's my question. If the grant is successful, at what point do you think you would actually start to be able to work on doing the areas and, approximate time to completion?
Because it's all overhead, we'll start with the coaxial cable that's there. And that's connected to something like 550 homes.
Mhm.
So they're already connected. And as the fiber construction progresses in those neighborhoods, we'll pull the coax down and replace it with the fiber.
Mhm.
So those people can sign up early, take advantage of the plan, the PRAC rate, as I call it internally.
So what about the overhead?
Sorry?
The overhead internet, the office, for those who don't have the coax existing?
I think there's coax on every street, so if there is somebody that doesn't have it, we'll put it in.
And again, timeline?
We're gonna go as soon as we get the money.
Okay,
We will
start.
Well,
doing
let
areas.
me tell you what the contractor told me today, that we will start within 3 weeks, and we'll have the cable system rehabbed in 6 weeks.
Okay.
So from that point forward, we're ready to sign up.
That's the existing
Yes.
coax cable.
Yeah.
And then replace it with fiber as it goes.
And we'll do some wireless if we have to and where we have to, and we've already talked about the wide area Wi-Fi that we're going to put in. So
Yeah.
Did you get any letter of support from the executive or anybody else in the county?
I'm not sure about that because I wasn't doing that. To be fair, this is county PUD grant application.
Okay.
I'm just partnered with them, so
Yeah.
we will be the ISP. We'll provide internet connectivity and operate the network.
Bob, could you tell, again, who the grant is that you're asking for it from?
Yeah, it's a Washington State Broadband Office.
Okay.
There's WSBO keeps showing up. Like I should know what that is, but
And this is completely separate from
this is
telecom.
completely separate from what we've been talking about with the county executive.
No, but it's also totally separate from Would-Be
Oh,
Telecom.
yes.
So people, if they want to stay with Would-Be Telecom, they can keep getting it through their phone line, or they can convert and get it through the cable line, like we used to with Delta Cable.
And it will be the public utility as in.
Yes, but so here's the rest of it. We will operate it exclusively for 3 years, but after that, that is a county asset.
Right.
So anybody that wants to start up in competition to us can use that asset.
Mhm.
It's like, it'll be a county asset like the road. Is a county asset. Anybody can
Yeah, because it's P.
Right.
Public Utility District.
Excellent. Do you need anything from this committee?
I think I'll probably write you an email tomorrow and ask for a letter of support. We've got what we need in there for the application. We basically used what I think Prakash's email to the county executive, which talked about the rates and the voting that had taken place.
So an additional letter of
Yeah, just
support.
For the grant.
For the PDD
Yeah,
grant.
so maybe that's something we should.
Yeah, you want to make a motion to put that to new business?
Yeah, can we add that to
So if you want to make a motion to add that to new business, then we just need a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm adding that to new business. Letter PD, got it. So we'll add that into the new business in just a little bit.
to it?
So needless to say, this is the punchline, I guess. This is great news.
Yeah.
You know, we've been fooling around with this, we've been working on it, and now everybody will have access to fiber. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a really big
It's
deal.
a really big deal. And the fact that it's a PUD,
Right.
yeah.
So I'm thankful for the support from the county and hopefully the state broadband office. So
Keep our fingers crossed.
yeah, yes. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, so next we have Night Sky and L.
Yeah, we have not met since our last meeting, which I reported on. We had a meeting scheduled and I had to cancel it.
Okay.
But we are making some good progress. And in response to your comments, Pat, we have plans to, I've written a letter to the port asking for a tour and asking for a tour for a group of us to come to the port and talk to them at night, have a night tour. They have day tours all the time. So we're going to ask for a special night tour and talk to them about what we're doing. I have plans to attend the Delta Council to ask them about cooperating with Night Sky agenda to hold the greenhouses feet to the fire in terms of complying with their existing light restrictions that they have already in place. And we're in talks with some of the homeowners here in Point Roberts, asking them to put shields on the lights so that they all point down, and asking them to put them for night lights, to put them on motion detectors.
Okay. So next, this is a big one for me, Maple Beach seawall.
Yep.
We received a letter from the Maple Beach Association. This has been going on for years and years and years. I actually went down and took a peek again at the seawall. And I actually started, digging into some research. I know that there had been talk about, I've received a few emails about, putting a topper on the seawall. Now they do that in BC. They put these little toppers on. Problem is in Washington State, Washington County, any alteration to a seawall requires a substantial shoreline development permit. So adding any type of topper to it, whether it be the concrete, which you can't, it's not wide enough, or even like metal fingers or anything like that, would require a hole. And it probably would be no.
Requires a full what plan?
A substantial shoreline development permit. When you do a substantial shoreline development permit, you need approval from Marine Corps of Engineers. You need Fish and Wildlife. It's, you got to follow all the shoreline rules and such. Not saying it's impossible, but it kind of triggered me into looking at there's a lot of different grants out there. And I actually started finding some. I'm still digging in. Washington State in particular is trying to get everything to a soft shore protection and remove vertical bulkheads, which is what we have. We have a vertical bulkhead. And you can do it as a homeowner, but they actually have ones for cities and counties that if you put in a plan to remove an existing vertical bulkhead to replace it with soft shore protection, there's a grant for that.
And soft shore protection is like.
So soft shore protection, there's different kinds of soft shore protection. What you see mainly in Point Roberts is you'll see where people have got, it's layers of rock that are, and there's actually mesh and sand and smaller gravel inside of those. Or they go to kind of how that beach used to be, where they actually they remove the wall, they do a natural vegetation slope, and then further out from the shoreline, they take some rocks that have the jagged edge and they place them strategically, as well as logs and things like that, that naturally slow down, the wave impact.
Doing that doesn't require
it does, but it's because it's what they want. It's because that's what Washington State wants to go to. The process of going through Marine Corps of Engineers, Department of Fisheries is a lot easier, a lot smoother, because you're also, these are, some of the ones I was looking up are from their Department of Natural Resource grants, right? So they actually, it makes it a much easier process. And the biggest thing that we've heard from Whatcom County over and over again is it's going to cost millions. They don't want to invest millions. So that's why I started looking into these grants that are large grants. Some of them are, 50-50. 50% is a grant, 50% is county funds, but they do, the low interest loans under different things. So I would like to have a couple of us maybe meet with the Maple Beach Association and the homeowners in Maple Beach, take a really good look at that wall and such, and continue to dig into all of these available fundings. Because if we can find the money to do it, or at least a lot of the money to do it, I think it's going to be, because I don't want to, how do they say it, put lipstick on a pig?
Yeah. And my wonderment is, yes, it's a lot of money, but if it has to be done, which it seems to me it has to be done, is where would the county, it needs to get done, or are they just going to say to the homeowners down there, you're all up?
Well, because it does need to be done before there's something catastrophic.
And it's anybody's guess,
right? When it's going to be catastrophic.
King Tides coming up this week.
But it's one of those things of, how we should, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
We are more likely to get things funded if we follow the mandate that we were given, which is don't come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution. And if we can come to them with some solutions, which is you don't have to buck up all the money. You only have to do part of it. And this is, something the state is trying to get done. Department of Natural Resources, Department of Ecology, Fish and Wildlife. There's Fish and Wildlife grants. Like I was finding all kinds of things.
It sounds exciting to me, and I'd be very happy to.
But I think it's just one of those things that, it's no different than the drainage and stuff. We dug, we found options,
I wonder if some of the folks in Maple Beach would be interested in doing some of that computer legwork to look for grants.
Well, that's why I'd like to, you know,
Mhm.
have a couple of us meet with the Maple Beach Association.
Well, I'm happy to if it makes sense, but I think it makes more sense to Brian, for Brian or Bill to have those. And I'm happy to do the work, but I'm making
I'd be, you know, I think your idea of meeting with the associations, a great place to start.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that are most involved, obviously, with this. And-
Well, and seeing further down on the private end,
Mhm.
after the seawall ends,
That's a whole other
Right.
story.
well, if they don't have as much of a problem at that end,
Mhm.
but it's also partially because they actually have not all of what the Department of Natural Resource and Department of Fisheries are calling for the vegetational slope with rocks and logs,
right.
but they have some of it.
Mhm.
So it kind of gives you an idea,
Of what it should and could look
you know, it's that but amped up.
Mhm.
So, but I think we need to meet with the people who are actually the property owners down there to see, you know, what their end goal is.
Yeah.
Is it, you know, because I don't think they want what we have, you know, like the house that's right past the reef, how far out that they had to put all that rockery and stuff, because then you're gonna lose that beach.
Right.
You know, so before we start digging into the different ideas, I think we need to meet with them and find out what they would like to see.
Right, yeah, no, I think that's certainly the right way to go. They are, as you know, they have two issues. They got the water coming down the hill, they got the water coming over the wall. And that adds to their septic issues that they must have. I mean, we've been there and seen the lots fully inundated, and we know that there's a septic system underneath that, so. They do have a lot of issues, so yeah, it would be great to, I think, meet with them.
Well, and I'm also thinking right now might be the most opportune time, because as we discussed with Public Works, when we do the drainage plan, they may need to have to figure out how to actually get some of that water that's going towards Canada actually down to the beach, which would be where that corner seawall is. Well, if that is the case, if that's what we have to do, well, then there's going to have to be some major construction at that end. So if we're going to do the project, let's continue down the road.
No, well, absolutely. The drainage master plan should address this because of its drainage, even though it's coming as it is. Whereas the master plan won't do all the work as far as, you know, this is the project, this is what you have to do for it. It will identify.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Well, because we do know we have the one drainage output
Right.
through the seawall,
Right.
which is about halfway, three-quarters of the way down the seawall.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just thinking if, you know, and if there's money available, it sometimes, if there's grant money available, it helps move a project forward faster.
Yeah.
Everybody loves free money,
As we just saw.
right? Everybody loves free money.
I just wonder, will Whatcom County interface with the Canadians so that it?
Well, that's why we speak, and we are supposed to liaison with the county for everyone in Point Roberts. Doesn't matter if you're American, if you're Canadian, it doesn't matter.
No, I'm talking about the Canadian shoreline,
Oh.
just north of Maple Beach. Because what we do on this end might
Affect them down
affect
there.
them. And so it would make sense that it would, we'd at least consult with them.
I don't know if they can consult with the city of Delta or not. I do not know.
Do they have a topper on top of there?
No, I don't think they do. It's more, for one thing, the houses are set back more and higher than that for Bayview Drive. Ours are much closer to the residences, and Roberts are much closer to the water than in Beach Grove.
So if you're good with that, Brian, I will reach out to Maple Beach Association.
Sure.
It'll probably be a weekend, just so that make it easier for their time schedule.
I do.
Are there grant search engines? Do you have access to?
Oh, no, I just go play.
Okay.
I went, like I said, I just happened to be on the Department of Natural Resource site and went to look at what different grants are available.
Mhm.
Just because I was actually looking at something for a wetland delineation style project. And I happened to find it.
Well, if you want to pass some of that information along to me, I'm happy to go digging deeper.
Yeah, because there's all kinds of grants, and I was, like I said, the one from Fish and Wildlife actually surprised me, but it's because they're concerned with the vertical seawall. It's not going to get into it because I didn't understand it. How it changes some habitat of.
Yeah, the energy comes back, so it's taking out the eelgrass and stuff.
Right.
You wouldn't know it to take a walk.
But okay, so I will take care
I
of
understand.
that.
There's plenty of eelgrass down there. Maybe not as much as you're supposed to be, but there's plenty there.
Our next item was the unfilled at large positions. That's Bill. He didn't end up online, so I will move that to our next meeting. He was supposed to be sending us the draft of the advertisement for us to. So I will make sure that I email him and get that so we can send it to Suzanne at the county and get it approved so that we can send it out. New business, septic classes.
Yes, I contacted the county Department of Health, and amazingly, I received, from my experience, and I appreciate it very much. Almost immediately, I got a great response saying, tell us when and where, and they suggested spring, which makes sense. More population here. But it's I just asked them, I read about the county doing homeowner training for septic systems, and gentleman I spoke with said, let us know when and where. So that's, I think, up to us to try to decide when we want to do it and where we want to do it.
So I think the best thing to do is do it here.
Yeah.
Probably I would suggest that we look at a Saturday. And he said spring, which I agree with. I was thinking, April.
Okay.
So I think our first thing to do would be to reach out to him and ask him. I think it's about 2 hours.
I'll check to see
Yeah.
if Saturday works for them.
See if the Saturday works for them, just because of course that's when we're going to be able to get the most people. And if he can pick a Saturday, and then we're just going to have to try and get the community center for that Saturday, because they need to be able to have video and everything.
Yeah.
But it's 75 to 100 people max, I think he said.
Yeah, I think that was that. Well, that's what he was hoping for. So.
Right. Because what we're going to have to do is, with as much time as possible, people are going to have to sign up, because it is going to be limited space.
Right. Well, and with the training, you get some kind of this better than I do.
So if you have a gravity fed system, you get a little certificate thing that you can do things to your own gravity system. You can inspect your own gravity system. If it's anything other than a gravity system, basically they're explaining to you how it works and certain things you can do to maintain your system, such as cleaning filters and things like that. But you cannot do your own yearly certification. If that has to be done by somebody who's licensed by Whatcom County.
Right.
Yeah. But they do tell you, and it's things that, like Bill, Kenny showed him how he's like, okay, well, everyone, if you pull this little thing up and take it over here and hose it off, if you don't mind doing it and put it in, it's going to stop you from having more problems. You don't need to pay me to come out and hose this off for you. That's something you can do yourself. So it's similar to that, things, and they tell you, what to look for, what, the do's and don'ts of, having a septic system. And knowing what kind of septic system.
Got it.
So I assume this will be a hybrid, with some people here and then also Zoom.
They do strictly, as far as I know, when they do the courses, it's in person. It's in person, they're here, it's in person, and they just have videos that they show.
No.
They have videos
Can
that
you
they
try to
show.
make it
I don't know if you could or couldn't. We'd have to ask him.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have an objection.
I would do just that.
But, and it might turn out that we have so many people who want to do it that we're gonna have him see if they'll do it, you know, later in the year. Because there might be a lot of people who want to, yeah, learn.
We'll see. I was quite happy that they responded in such a positive manner in such a timely fashion.
Yeah. Well, he moved up into a new position.
Okay, got it. Good.
And he actually did inspect here for a while.
Okay,
So, yeah, he's now, I can't remember what his job title is, but very, very, very nice.
excellent.
So you're gonna follow up
Yes.
with that for the septic classes. So I think, yeah, if he can give us a date,
Mhm.
then we can go from there as far as
Yeah,
getting a sign-up sheet going.
got it.
So that, you know, we don't end up with too many. Okay, so next is our new agenda item, which is letter of recommendation for the grant for PUD for Washington State broadband.
So move.
Oh, and what would we,
Well, first of all, Bob said this is a PUD project, right?
It's a
So we'd
PUD
have to
project.
be recommending.
we'd be recommending Bob and PUD, right?
We're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
We're partnered with PUD.
Right.
The CUD or the grant application.
Whatcom County PUD.
Who's the PUD contact?
Oh, I can provide it to you. Hungar, the general manager, and Andrew Eric, Intricate.
Okay.
Who wrote that?
The guys, yeah, who wrote the report that called out Frank Roberts as
Mhm.
needing some help. So I can work with them to ask them whether they need a letter and if so what should it say about the project. But since we've already discussed this and had that framework that for the mail
Yes.
that I sent to the executive, we have voted on that. So if we can just maybe approve a letter of recommendation that states or restates those requirements.
So, okay, I'll make a motion, that you will follow up with them and if, requested.
Yeah.
That we would issue a letter of recommendation with the same verbiage that we used, in the recommendation to Whatcom County.
Yep.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go, that passes.
Have we had any response at all from, apparently not. Because it would have come up in correspondence from our state of PR.
Should we talk about what to do about it?
Well, so county council, from the time we sent it until January 10th, a week ago, was on hiatus for winter break.
Okay.
So I didn't get to it this week. I figured I was gonna give them a week to, you know, get back into it. They already had council on the 10th. And then send a follow-up. Because I sent it to Seth Paul, I sent it to Jed, I sent it to Ben, I sent it to Barry Buchanan, and I sent it to Carol Fraser, because I sent it to our at-large members as well, because they're our representative as well. So I figured, you know, I can follow up again and say, no, it was Christmas, you might not have seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back at the top of your inbox.
Can you put this, you know, at the top of your to-do list?
Do you take a phone call to each of those people with their office and just say, hey, would you pull that out and take a look at it?
I figure usually the best way to do it is if I send another follow-up email, wait a week, if I don't hear a response, I'll call Jen. I'll call Jed and say, no, you're busy. No, this is, you know, log in your email. Have you had a chance to look at this? Would you mind doing me a favor? Can you follow up with Paul and the other council members to what would work best for you? And Jed is usually really good about that because it's not our timeline and our availability that matters. It's when can he get them together to have a meeting. So I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay.
I don't want to call every single one of them and be a pain in the rear. I'd rather just.
I'm happy to be a pain in the rear.
No, I know, but like I said, if I follow up with Jed after and say, would you do me, you know their schedules better than I do.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do kind of agree with Annelle. She's made that point previously that we need a more streamlined communication mechanism, where I think we're getting to the point where we have all these issues. We're doing the best we can. We can bring it up to so far, but without common support, we can't really.
We need the quarterly meeting. We need that quarterly meeting. And depending on what's on our, that's kind of what I figured we were going to do in the first meeting, is saying, okay, here's all the things we're talking about. Here's our first project. We're only going to deal with, 2 at a time. And at the next quarterly meeting, well, we don't need everybody there, but we need our public works guys there. We need Seth Paul there so that we can, he can hear from his staff as well as us and, how things are proceeding. And then just keep going from here. Hoping they're slowly getting some more staff because they were so understaffed. So
it really should be to their benefit because they're the elected representatives.
Yeah.
We're just.
And it's an election year.
Yeah.
It's an election year. We have Carol Frazie's up at the end of the year. Seth Paul's up at the end of the year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Then Ellen Boss is up at the end of the year, and Kathy Kirschner. And so is our auditor, and so is our treasurer. It's a big year this year for Whatcom County for elections. So, and Sheriff Elfo is not rerunning. So we'll have a new sheriff for the first time, and as long as I can remember.
Do any of the other PRCAC members check out a Facebook page called Whatcom County Nighthawk? You might want to check it out. Let me just Nighthawk, HAKWK. It's a very outspoken page. You see it? That is very, very environmentally oriented. And are you familiar? You ever looked at it? Got it?
Well, we don't have time for that conversation. Okay. Regarding.
Whatcom Hawk, I guess it is, a public group. And anyway, it's pretty enlightening. And I think it would be a good idea just to keep an eye on some of the other things that are going on in the larger county and sort of the ways that they're perceived and being addressed. Cherry Point, for instance, just made a $4 million settlement over emissions violations. That's interesting to know for us because it's just right there. And some convert with this Wendy Harris. Do you know about that? She's a very smart, she's into admin. She's very smart woman with some rather strident ideas.
So it's Whatcom Hawk.
Whatcom Hawk.
Whatcom Hawk discusses local politics, environment, land use planning, and natural resources.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are other pages that are not quite so I guess I would say, but this one is certainly she's very bright, and I have a lot of respect for where she comes from, and the people on there are pretty interesting. So.
Yeah, it's Lee, but we can't do chat. Has to be. So I'm gonna get into that so she can ask her questions in the further public comment. Okay, so we are now at further public comment. Does anyone have any questions, concerns that they would like to bring up? Elizabeth?
Who is responsible for the Christmas tree on the corner of Tyee and Gulf?
That will be coming down this week. I could not help get it down because I've injured myself. So I rounded up some other people to take care of that.
Yeah, because it's forever falling over. I've tried it twice now. And we're the 19th of January. Do you need help removing it?
No, I'm gonna get a bunch of people together. It's like 5 separate pieces and it's super tall, and normally just back up a truck and sound the truck gate and pull it apart that way, but not gonna happen.
Okay.
So I've got some people who can do it.
Right.
I offered already. Everybody's pretty busy dealing with the floods that are happening.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, does any of the committee members have anything that they would like to bring up for future meetings or anything?
I have some news about the Parks Commission and the dog park. They'll be having their meeting here. The Park Commission we're on their calendar for June.
Oh, perfect.
So they are in the process of hiring a new design and development supervisor. And that's where their focus has been. But he called, we had a nice long conversation, and that will primarily be that person's job to take a look at what we've suggested, and then they'll come in June. And I don't know if we want to host them.
I think we should.
I think so too. So we can do some cookies and coffee and soft drinks and so forth when they come. And probably should just be the committee. I don't know.
It can be up to 2 members of the committee, because 5 is a quorum, which means it's an open meeting to the public.
Right.
So 2 designated, yourself and whoever else is available when the time comes.
Okay.
Would be
I suspect Bill will have some interest in that. He's got 3.
I had 3.
I want to thank everybody for all the headway that PRCAC has made. It's in the last, I don't know, year or 2 years, and especially with broadband. It was really good news tonight. Thank you so much for all your efforts. We commend you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Well, you know what? As long as we keep trying and, you know, we don't give up.
Yeah.
And actually someone said that to me the other day when we were talking about stormwater. And they're like, well, I thought that died when they told you no to the TBD fund. I'm like, we don't take no for an answer.
Absolutely.
We don't take no. We kept trying to find the money, and, you know, it worked out to, you know, to make it work. So I think that's the main thing that I'm taking away from this. See how much we can do in the next year before I leave. I said I'll stay on as a subcommittee member. I can do that. I just can't be on the committee.
Right.
So, okay, does anyone else have anything?
Thanks everybody for coming. It's always really gratifying to see all those faces out there. Thank you.
So seeing none, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Again, thank you everyone for showing, and please, if you think of something between now and our next meeting, you can email us at PRCAC.comment@gmail.com, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Night all.
Good night, thank you.